I think you should leave now, her mother-in-law said coldly, pointing toward the door as if Emma were some unwanted guest instead of the daughter-in-law who had cared for her through 2 surgeries. Emma didn't argue. She just stood there quietly, clutching the small bag of clothes they'd allowed her to take, her eyes wide and stunned. And the whole time, her husband, Daniel, stood beside his new friend, a woman who smirked as if she had won some game. That was the moment I realized kindness can be the softest voice in the room and still shake the ground beneath you. Emma didn't cry, not in front of them. She simply whispered, "Thank you for everything," even though they deserved no gratitude. I watched her walk out, shoulders trembling, but head still trying to stay high. They thought they had broken her. They had no idea who they were dealing with. They didn't know that the quiet girl they dismissed like a worn-out shoe had inherited an empire larger than their imagination just hours earlier, an empire she herself never asked for. When she stepped outside, she finally let out a shaky breath. I followed her because someone needed to. "Are you okay?" I asked softly. She nodded, though her eyes were glassy. I didn't think they hated me this much." Her voice cracked. "I tried everything. I cooked, helped, supported, forgave, and still." She didn't finish. She didn't have to. I'd seen enough cruelty in that house to fill a lifetime. We sat on the curb, rain beginning to mist over us, the cold wind biting into our skin. "You don't deserve them," I said. She laughed a broken laugh. "Maybe I was just never enough." I shook my head gently. "Kindness is never a weakness, Emma. But some people treat gentle souls like stepping stones." She stared at her hands silently, as if trying to understand how her life had fallen apart within an hour. Eventually, I drove her to a small cafe nearby. She barely touched her tea, but at least the warmth returned to her face. "I'm sorry you had to see that," she whispered. "I'm sorry they treated you that way," I replied. She closed her eyes, and for the first time, tears finally escaped. I gave them my best years, and they replaced me with someone who laughed at my pain. Her hands trembled. Why am I grieving people who never cared? What she didn't know was that her late grandfather's lawyer had called me earlier, asking me to find her. He told me Emma had just inherited a company worth billions, an inheritance she had no idea was hers because she never cared about wealth. She only cared about people. And ironically, the people she loved most were the ones who threw her away without hesitation. As we left the cafe, her phone vibrated. It was Daniel. She stared at the screen, breath heavy. "He wants to talk," she whispered. "Do you want to?" I asked. She hesitated, then said, "No, not right now." She placed the phone face down, and for the first time chose herself over him. We didn't talk much on the drive to the lawyer's office. She was too lost in her thoughts. I was too afraid of how she'd react to the truth she was about to learn. Inside the office, she sat quietly as the lawyer placed the thick envelope in front of her. "This is from your grandfather," he said gently. She looked confused. "My grandfather passed away last year." "Yes," the lawyer replied. "This is his final instruction." Emma opened the envelope slowly, confusion turning into disbelief as she read the papers inside. "There has to be a mistake," she whispered. "No," the lawyer said softly. "You are the primary heir to his entire corporate estate." I watched as her face shifted from shock to fear to something deeper, hurt. "He trusted me with this?" she asked. "More than anyone," the lawyer replied. Tears filled her eyes again, but this time, they weren't from pain. They were from realization. "They threw me out," she whispered, trembling. "They threw me out the same day this arrived." The irony hit her harder than any insult her in-laws ever threw at her. "What am I supposed to do now?" she asked quietly. "Whatever you choose," the lawyer said. "You owe no one anything." She sat back, letting the truth sink in. Her kindness had been mistaken for helplessness. But now she had the chance to use that same kindness with strength, not for revenge but for rebuilding. A week passed. Daniel showed up at her doorstep, eyes full of panic. "Emma, I didn't mean it. My parents pressured me, you know them. Please come back." Things have been difficult. He waited for sympathy, but she just watched him calmly. I hope you find peace, she said softly. But I won't return to a place where love is conditional. He blinked, shocked. You can't be serious. She smiled gently. I used to think kindness was letting people walk all over me. Now I know it's choosing myself. Her in-laws called next. Then the mistress. Then neighbors. We didn't know, they said. We were confused, they said. We acted out of emotion, they said. Emma listened politely, then responded the same way to each of them. I forgive you, but I won't go back. Weeks later, she visited her grandfather's old office for the first time. She touched the desk gently, whispered a quiet thank you, then turned to me and said, I want to run this place differently, with compassion, with fairness, with everything I wish someone had given me. And she did. Slowly, carefully, she rebuilt her life. Not with vengeance, but with purpose. The people who pushed her aside watched from a distance, their regret growing each day. But Emma never looked back with bitterness, only with clarity. In the end, Emma didn't win because she inherited billions. She won because she chose to protect her heart without hardening it. She proved that kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strength with a soft voice. She walked away from people who treated her as disposable and stepped into a life where she finally understood her worth. Sometimes the universe removes you from places you've outgrown. Sometimes the people who discard you are unknowingly clearing your path. And sometimes the greatest revenge is becoming the version of yourself they never believed you could be.